name is Susan Boyle. I'm nearly 48, currently unemployed but still looking.
Susan Boyle disappeared from public view for nearly 2 years after something devastating happened in 2022. And when she finally returned, people assumed they already knew the reason. They thought it was only illness, only recovery, only the visible struggle. But the truth Susan has now begun to share is far more complicated and far more painful. Behind the silence were years of family conflict, emotional pressure, financial guilt, and fear that had been building long before her health collapsed. By the time the world noticed she was gone, Susan had already been breaking quietly for a very long time. Susan Boyle's story began on April 1, 1961, at Bangor Village Hospital in West Lothian, Scotland. She was born into a working-class Catholic family as the 9th and youngest child, arriving at a time when her parents were already exhausted by life. Her mother, Bridget, was 47 years old, an age that in the early 1960s was considered dangerous for pregnancy. Doctors warned Bridget repeatedly that continuing the pregnancy could put both her life and the baby's life at risk. But Bridget refused to consider termination. Her faith was unshakable, and she believed the child was meant to be born. The Boyle family lived in a modest council house in Blackburn, already crowded and strained by financial pressure. Susan's arrival added another mouth to feed and another responsibility in a household that was already stretched thin. From the very beginning, Susan sensed that she was different, not just because she was the youngest, but because her existence seemed to arrive wrapped in worry, fear, and hardship. Susan's first moments in the world were marked by crisis. During labor, her mother developed preeclampsia, a dangerous condition that disrupted oxygen flow. Susan was briefly deprived of oxygen at birth, and doctors told her parents that she might have suffered mild brain damage. That single sentence became a shadow that followed Susan for decades. It shaped how teachers treated her, how peers saw her, and how she saw herself. At school, Susan struggled. She processed information differently, learned differently, and spoke differently. Instead of support, she received labels. Teachers called her slow. Classmates mocked her. The idea that she was damaged, broken, or less than others settled deep into her identity. Susan internalized that belief and carried it quietly, assuming that the adults around her knew better than she did. Home offered little refuge. Her father, Patrick Boyle, was a World War II veteran who returned from service deeply traumatized. He carried anger, volatility, and emotional scars that were never treated. The household could turn tense without warning, and Susan often became the focus of his outbursts. She endured physical punishment and emotional fear, yet later in life, she spoke of her father with complicated compassion, saying she believed he was fighting battles inside himself that he did not know how to control. School life was no kinder. Susan was bullied relentlessly. She suffered from epilepsy, and when she fainted or had seizures, classmates laughed instead of helping. They gave her cruel nicknames and isolated her socially. Teachers did not protect her. Some punished her with corporal discipline, using belts, sometimes almost daily. Susan learned very early that the world could be cruel and that vulnerability invited harm. Yet beneath all of this, something resilient was forming. Susan developed an inner strength that no one could see at the time. Music became her escape, her private refuge. When she sang, the noise in her mind softened. Singing was the one place where she did not feel broken. For nearly 50 years, Susan lived under a false belief that defined her entire life. She believed she had brain damage. Everyone around her believed it too. It was not until 2012, at the age of 51, that Susan saw a specialist who changed everything. She was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, a form of autism, and testing revealed her IQ was above average. The revelation was shocking and liberating. Suddenly, her struggles made sense. She was not damaged, she was different. For the first time, Susan felt pride instead of shame. Love, however, had already been deeply complicated for her. At 26, Susan fell in love for the first time, but that relationship was ended without her consent. Her father answered the phone one day and told the man Susan did not want to speak to him anymore. Susan never got a chance to explain, to fight, or to say goodbye. The man moved on, had a child with someone else, and Susan's heart broke quietly. That moment permanently altered her relationship with trust and intimacy. As her siblings moved forward with careers, marriages, and families, Susan stayed behind. She became the caregiver, first to her father and then fully to her mother after her father's death in the 1990s. Susan devoted herself completely to Bridget, sacrificing her own independence, friendships, and ambitions. Her world became smaller with each passing year. In 1995, Susan tried to break out of that small world. She auditioned for a television show called My Kind of People. She had sung in pubs and choirs, but this was her first national attempt. Her nerves overwhelmed her. She shook uncontrollably and could barely sing. She was not selected. The rejection crushed her, but she did not stop dreaming. In 1999, she recorded Cry Me a River for a charity CD. Only 1,000 copies were produced. A local paper praised her voice as deeply emotional, but the world did not hear it. She spent all her savings on a professional demo tape, mailing it to record labels across the UK. No one responded. Those tapes vanished into silence. Then came the loss that broke her spirit. In 2000, her beloved sister, Kathleen, died suddenly. Kathleen had been her greatest supporter, the one who believed Susan's voice belonged on a bigger stage. After her death, Susan stopped singing entirely. For 2 years, she avoided music. Grief swallowed her ambition. When Susan slowly returned to singing in 2002, it was only in private moments, while caring for her aging mother. Bridget, now frail but steadfast, reminded Susan constantly that she had a gift meant to be shared. Their bond was deep, loving, and limiting at the same time. Susan's life revolved around care, duty, and quiet hope. In October 2007, Bridget died. At the age of 91, Susan was shattered. The woman who had anchored her life was gone. Susan withdrew completely. For nearly 2 years, she lived as a recluse. Curtains closed, silence filled the house. Only her cat, Pebbles, kept her company. In 2008, Susan remembered a promise she had made to her mother. She decided to audition for Britain's Got Talent. She was 47 years old, unemployed, and unknown. She went anyway. On April 11, 2009, Susan Boyle walked onto the stage in Glasgow and was immediately judged. The audience laughed. The judges doubted her. When she said she wanted to be as famous as Elaine Paige, the room mocked her. Then she sang, "I Dreamed a Dream," and the world changed. The reaction was instant and explosive. The judges were stunned. The audience rose to their feet. The clip went viral globally. Within days, millions had watched. Within weeks, hundreds of millions. Susan became a symbol, not just of talent, but of how wrong first impressions can be. Her fame exploded overnight, but the pressure nearly destroyed her. When she lost the final to Diversity, the emotional toll was severe. She collapsed, was hospitalized, and became a media spectacle. The press crossed lines. Ethics were questioned. Susan was overwhelmed. Yet she returned. She toured. She recorded. Her debut album shattered records. She became one of the highest-selling artists in the world in 2009. She sang for Queen Elizabeth II. She sold over 25 million records globally. But behind the success, her family relationships deteriorated. Money created resentment, expectation, and conflict. Susan gave away approximately $1.8 million to relatives. She tried to help everyone. Instead, the pressure increased. Threats, guilt, and emotional manipulation left her anxious and sick with worry. By 2022, her health finally collapsed. Susan suffered a stroke that nearly stole her voice. Recovery was brutal. Speech therapy, physical therapy, endless practice. For nearly 2 years, she disappeared from public life. In 2023, she returned to the Britain's Got Talent stage and sang again. The moment was emotional, powerful, and symbolic. She was not just singing, she was surviving. Now, at 65, Susan Boyle has finally begun to speak honestly about the cost of her journey. Fame did not save her, money did not protect her, strength did. Her story is no longer just about a woman who surprised the world with her voice. It is about endurance, misunderstanding, resilience, and the courage to return after